Hello Spartans, welcome back. I really have no idea how to begin this video. I've tried a few times already and it just doesn't feel natural in any way. Whatever I say just doesn't click with me in the right way. So I'm gonna go straight to the point. 2 days ago, May 2nd to be precise, I tweeted something that went like this. If Capcom can remake the original Resident Evil titles and see great success, then id Software should remake the original Doom trilogy from the 90s as well. Give me that OG Doom with grounded storytelling and gameplay. I am a big fan of Resident Evil as much as I am a fan of Doom, old and new. I love them all and I've played them all. So seeing the great success Capcom has seen with Resident Evil since RE7 released, I thought that id Software could take the same route and give us a reimagining of how the original Doom and its story would play out in these modern times of the 2020s. And well, Doom Twitter didn't like this post at all, and that's fine. Not everyone has to agree with me. My words are not absolute and they have never been. I am not God or anything. I was expecting some friendly debate down in the replies, which I did get, but some people like to take things to the absolute extreme like they always do. Somebody even said that I should get ripped and killed all because I shared this opinion. Yeah, great argument, buddy. A huevo, wey, te la rifaste, debes de ser todo un macho. I wasn't going to make a video about this in the first place, but then I began to see a pattern in most of the replies and quotes the post got. Most people, and I am talking about 80% of the people that replied to the post, answered with a straight no, and didn't elaborate any further, while making it seem that I'm simply the worst for even suggesting this. I am all for a good conversation, but when your only answer is something like this, I just cannot take you seriously, my friends. So in today's video we're going to talk about the hypothetical scenario of the existence of a 1993 Doom remake. If you want id Software to reimagine the original Doom story, slap the like button, and if you are against it, let me know why down below in the comments. This is gonna be a fun little experiment, so be sure to leave your 2 cents down below. Without further ado, let's begin. It's Friday. Yes, it's finally Friday. And you know what that means? It means that GamerSubs has released a brand new shaker. In the purchase of any GamerSubs flavor, you will get this shaker absolutely for free while stock lasts. So be sure to use code MIDNIGHT to get a 10% discount on top of that. Thanks for the support and I really hope you enjoy.
Tell someone who gives a shit.
In this video, I'm going to compare Doom with Resident Evil. Even though they are very different franchises in their own right, they share a lot of similarities in their development cycle, community, and overall release structure, if that makes sense.
I understand.
Resident Evil, just like Doom, is an ancient franchise, some of the classics that dates all the way back to the 90s. Both franchises changed the industry in their own unique way. Doom popularized fast-paced action in first person, and Resident Evil popularized survival horror with its eerie atmosphere, unique style, and tank controls. Both games saw great success at the start of their cycle in the 1990s, and with the passage of time, even though both franchises were making even bigger numbers with each release, community fatigue was beginning to pass through, with it reaching a breaking point. For Doom, it was Doom 3, and for Resident Evil, it was RE6. I enjoyed Doom 3 and RE6, but if something is true, is that both titles swayed too far away from their original formula. Doom became a horror game, when Doom was always about fast-paced action, and Resident Evil became a high-octane, high-action Hollywood spectacle, when Resident Evil was always about a psychological horror and slow but calculated gameplay. This breaking point marked a new beginning for the franchise, where both games had a sequel to their previous work, that being Doom 4 and RE6.5. But the developers knew that something wasn't right, and by putting it all on the line, both titles were cancelled, and a new vision for the franchise was about to take form thanks to certain key individuals. For id Software, it was Hugo Motten, and for Capcom, it was Jun Takeuchi. These gigachats decided to take what the fans loved from the classics and reimagine it with their very own direction. The result, the reboot of Doom, came out in 2016 and RE7 released in 2017, with both games revitalizing their own franchise and letting us know why we loved the classics so much in the past. Both franchises have released a sequel to those games games in the past years, with Doom Eternal releasing in 2020 and Resident Evil Village in 2021. And both games did the exact same thing, replicate what worked in the prequel and dial it up all the way to 11 in the sequel. There's a reason why both games feel like a theme park and why you can do this in Resident Evil 8. Now, here is where the video gets interesting. Thanks to the success of RE7, Capcom felt more dared to make the RE2 remake right. And they did. RE2 Make, with its flaws, is one of the best survival horror games in modern history. RE3 not so much, you can go suck pee-pee, and RE4 Remake is an absolute masterpiece. In terms of story, RE7 took the franchise into a new direction, and with the remakes of Resident Evil 2, 3 and 4, it seems that Capcom is set on making the remakes the new canon. After all, they do mention the Baker family in RE4 Remake, and you can see a banner that resembles the one found in RE Village. It's not that the classics are now obsolete, of course not, but because the new direction in story, Capcom felt the need to make it as streamlined as possible for newer fans. After all, it is an almost 30-year-old franchise. I am as purist as you can get with Resident Evil. Even if the remakes are great, except you, I will always prefer the classics. I love tank controls and a fixed camera perspective. I grew up playing this shit. I love it. Yet, I never understood why a lot of die-hard fans were so against Capcom remaking the classics, acting as if they are untouchable gems that no one should even dare to try and remake, even if they have been lost in time thanks to there being no remasters for 2 and 3. And the exact same thing is happening with Doom and its hypothetical remake. It just took me by surprise just how many people are against the idea of its software going back to the original games and reimagine them, and even more surprised when a lot of people outright didn't even elaborate as to why they are against it. Like I said, acting as if the original Doom games are untouchable gems that no one should even dare to try and remake. First of all, if 1993 Doom was to be remade, the original will still be there, and it will be there for the next 100 years at the very least. Remake Doom will not replace 1993 Doom, and it will never do it. Now, let me elaborate as to why I think a Doom remake would be great. Doom 2016 took the franchise, gameplay-wise and lore-wise, into a new direction. The protagonist, that being the Doom Slayer, is now a godlike being with godly powers, and Doom Eternal expands on that even more, letting us outright kill God. Yet, if you read the codex, you will note that the Doom Slayer is the same guy from classic Doom, from OG Doom to Doom 64. But, and here lies my main problem, is that the original Doom trilogy is primarily gameplay and secondarily heavy tunes. Story is not even a second thought, with it being reduced to a manual introduction. And I get it, those games were made between 1993 and 1997. Story in games wasn't as important back then, but ever since Half-Life released in 1998, everything changed for storytelling in first-person shooters. Like it or not, my friends, Doom now has a story, which you can entirely skip if you just want to rip and tear. Thing is that there is a clear disconnection between classic Doom and the new Doom in terms of narrative. We just do not know, in a clear, cohesive manner, just exactly what happened in the original UAC Mars Demonic Invasion, and I would love to see its software do a reimagining as to how it would look like on the glorious id Tech 7. And I think it's interesting, because in this point in time, Doom Guy was not a god, but a simple mortal, a soldier that fights for the weak, and I think that fact alone would translate great on its gameplay style. What I meant by grounded storytelling and gameplay is that I want a more human perspective as to how those events would play out, and how a human soldier with top class training would fight it out. And to those that say that Doom wouldn't be Doom without its power fantasy, I think you're saying this incorrectly. Even if Doom Guy is not a god, and the gameplay will not be as flashy like Eternal, ripping demons in half with one punch and whatnot, we have seen plenty of horror games recently pull out their very own power fantasy in more grounded settings. The Dead Space remake and the RE4 remake are great examples of that. Both Isaac and Leon are both human humans put in impossible situations against monsters that do resemble demons from hell, but thanks to their training they are able to overcome those challenges by a thread, and it feels great and empowering doing it, because those games are action horror, and a good action horror game can be as thrilling as Doom Eternal and as creepy as the Resident Evil classics. If a Doom remake was to ever come out, I believe it would be an action horror game that takes the best things from Doom 3 and Eternal and merges them together to create something new. I say all of this from the perspective of having the definitive Doom canon, where we know exactly what happened in each given game, because as it stands now, more than half of its story is missing. And I do not hate that, I just think it would be a cool, neat little idea to have something like that, given that I am a sucker for story in video games, which for some reason it's considered taboo on the Doom franchise. To the people that still think John Carmack's quote is a way to shut down this conversation, this quote worked in the 90s and in the early 2000s. But now? There's no way Doom would have gotten to where it is now if it only offered high-octane gameplay. Good gameplay is just as important as having compelling characters and a good narrative, and I will die on that hill if I have to. Of course, I'm not saying that Doom should become a walking simulator like The Last of Us 2 or God of War. I think the new Doom games offer the perfect amount of exposition without taking focus from the action. So if a Doom remake was to come out, I think it should follow the same formula as Eternal and 2016, where story matters but the main attraction of the game is still the gameplay. But anyways, that's my super hot take on the hypothetical Doom remake. Please let me know what you think about it down below in the comment section. I'm very interested to know what you all have to say. Anyhow, use code MIDNIGHT on GamerSubs and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Adios. Bye.